Amadhyantibandasya Yananjana Shalakya Chakshurmetanena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu Savitamena Bhutale Swarupakadamayam Dati Swapadadikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapalakamal Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shnam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Gunatan Vidam Tam Sidevam Sadvaitam Samadhutam Prajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakharmitam Sa He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jalapate Gopesa Gopikanda Radha Kanta Namosare Sapta Kancha Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sudidevi Pranamami Harite Vancha Kalpa Tarvyashta Vasana Vacha Vitanam Pavanebhyo Vishvyo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna. Welcome. I want to thank the devotees of the Ujjain temple for inviting me to speak on this auspicious occasion. Bhakti Goswami built a beautiful temple in Ujjain, and the thousands of people regularly visit the Ujjain temple almost daily. So we're very happy to be here. And as we all know, tomorrow is the most auspicious appearance day of Chaitanya Mahāprabhu. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Janma karma chami devya. I appear, why? To establish religion. Vaitaya sarvana vineshita duskadam dharma sansapanataya samavami yugirya. The Lord appears to establish the principles of religion. And when the Lord appears, he also performs superhuman activities. These days, you meet people who may claim, I'm avatar, incarnation. But we don't find any reference in the scriptures, nor are they capable of doing anything superhuman. But the modified incarnations of the Lord are all pre-told in the scriptures. Like the Bhagavatam predicts the appearance of Chaitanya Mahāprabhu. And when the Lord appears, he also performs superhuman activities. The pastime and teachings of the Lord are very nicely summarized in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, composed by Vrindavan Das Thakur, Chaitanya Mangal, composed by Rochan Das Thakur, and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, composed by Krishnadas Kaviraj. Srila Prabhupada, Pavanacharya, translated the Chaitanya Charitamrita in English and is today available in most of the major languages of the world. And the Chaitanya Charitamrita has the Lord's philosophy in detail, and of course many of the pastimes. And those pastimes that have not been covered in Chaitanya Charitamrita are covered in Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur. The Chaitanya Bhagavat initially and was written was presented under the name Chaitanya Manga. But then, Vrindavan Thakur saw Lokshanath Thakur is also named his book Chaitanya Manga, where he changed it to Chaitanya Bhagavan. Lord Chaitanya is described as the most merciful of all incarnations. Lokshanath Thakur, in his famous bhajan, Śrī Krishna Caitanya Mahāprabhu says, Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, you are the most merciful of all incarnations. And why have you appeared? Patit Pavan Hetu Tava Avatar. And you appear to save the fallen people of Kali Yuga. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared along with his associates to establish the Yuga Dharma for this age. Advaitacharya, who is considered to be an incarnation of Mahavishnu, when he was on the planet, he saw that the environment was very detrimental to spiritual life. And he and Haridas Thakur chanted read the Srimad Bhagavatam and prayed very intensively to the Lord that he may appear to save the fallen people of Kali Yuga. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also performed many transcendental pastimes. And the philosophy given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also very practical and very conducive to the age of Kali. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as you know, propagated the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Rava Naseva, Naseva, Eva Gati. Chant the holy name, chant the holy name, chant the holy name. Even when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a baby, we stopped crying. Only men, neighboring ladies, would chant the holy name. So the purpose of Lord Chaitanya in the social period was to freely distribute this chanting, the glories of chanting. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had predicted, one day, in every town and village of the world, the holy name will be chanted. Today, due to the efforts of Srila Prabhupada and his followers, the holy name is being chanted in almost every corner of the globe. I've yet to meet a person who says, I can't pronounce Hare Krishna. The chanting of the holy name is so simple. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu philosophy is there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is said that by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a blind man can see, a lame man can walk, a lame man can not only walk, cross mountains, and a deaf man can hear. By the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, difficult things become easy. And without his mercy, easy things become difficult. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most merciful of all incarnations who freely distributed this process for obtaining. In this age of Kali, chanting the holy name is recommended. In prior ages, there were different forms of self-realization. For example, in Satya Yuga, the process was meditating on the Lord. In Treta Yuga, the process was having very elaborate sacrifices. In Dwapara Yuga, the process was elaborate worship of the Lord. And the same benefit you can get in Kali Yuga, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at a young age became a prominent scholar, Sanskrit scholar. He obtained his knowledge on Sanskrit from Vedanta. And at the age of 10, he had become a very prominent Sanskrit scholar. Now, 500 years ago, was not the same as you see today. 500 years ago, Navadip was a seat of learning Sanskrit. Scholars would live over there, and it was a very respected intellectual city. So Chaitanya Mahāprabhu became a very prominent Sanskrit scholar at a young age. And he opened a Sanskrit school also at the age of 10. Chaitanya Mahāprabhu was a prominent Sanskrit scholar. And at that time, there was another scholar known as Keshav Kashmiri. Keshav Kashmiri was a devotee of Goddess Saraswati. And he used to take great pride in arguing, debating with other Sanskrit scholars. And when he would defeat them, he would say, okay, give me a certificate that I've defeated you. So Keshav Kashmiri heard that in Navadip. He was a very prominent Sanskrit scholar whose name was Nimai Pandit. The Lord had many names. Gauranga, Gaurasunda, Nimai Pandit. So he had many names. God has thousands of names. You and I may have one or two names. The Lord has innumerable names. Many of them names are characterized by his pastime. So Keshav Kashmiri met Chaitanya Mahāprabhu at the Nimai Pandit on the banks of the Yamuna, of the Ganga. And Keshav Kashmiri said, are you that prominent Sanskrit scholar that everybody's talking about? Am I taking a humble position? Said, yes, but compared to you, my knowledge is insignificant. So Keshav Kashmiri said, I would like to see a sample of your composition. Why don't you compose a few Sanskrit verses? Nimai encouraged us to be humble, and he practiced humility also. So Nimai said, I can't even compose one line. You please compose. So Keshav Kashmiri composed 100 verses that glorified the Ganga. And then he asked his young competitor, so how do you like my composition? And Maya was able to recall all the 100 verses. And he pointed out the flaws and the good points of many of these verses. When Keshav Kashmiri heard that this young boy has memorized all the verses just by hearing once. In Sanskrit, there's a word called Shruti Dhara. It means by hearing once, you memorize it. Just like, for example, when Shukadeva Goswami was reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, there were thousands of sages in the audience. And one of the sages in the audience was Shukadeva Goswami. And he memorized all the verses that he heard, all the Bhagavatam, with every page recollected in Namashivaya. So Shruti Dhara means to memorize something by hearing once. So Keshav Kashmiri, when he heard a young boy reciting all the 100 verses that he composed, he was shocked. He said, I spoke at the speed of the wind. How did you memorize it? Just by hearing once. It's not humanly possible. And then Keshav Kashmiri, when the Mai praised, and when he mentioned the good points and weak points of the verse, Keshav Kashmiri was surprised. And he could not respond to Nimai's queries. Nimai was Sanskrit scholar and a teacher. So when Nimai's students saw that Keshav Kashmiri is not in a position to respond to Nimai's points, they began to laugh. Just like when you're playing a match, the home team always gets more applause than the other team. So Nimai's classmates, they began to laugh as if they were making fun of Keshav Kashmiri. Nimai told Keshav Kashmiri, told the students, no, Keshav Kashmiri will reply tomorrow. He's tired today. He just defended and protected Keshav Kashmiri. Keshav Kashmiri went home. Keshav Kashmiri was a devotee of Goddess Saraswati. Keshav Kashmiri fell at the feet of Goddess Saraswati and said, you have always spoken through me. But today, when the young boy pointed out my faults, you did not speak through me. Goddess Saraswati said, you don't know what a young boy is. The young man is none else but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I can't defend you against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Nimai, and Keshav Kashmiri the next day surrendered at the feet of Nimai and became his follower. So Keshav Kashmiri was also humble. He took Goddess Saraswati as his wife. So Nimai Pandit this way argued with many Sanskrit scholars, and he was considered to be the predominant scholar at that time. Nimai Pandit had opened a Sanskrit school, and every day when he would be going to the school, he would stop by at a shop of a devotee that belonged to a devotee called Kolavaja Sridhar. Kolavaja Sridhar was materially not rich. He had a small business making banana leaf cups and banana plates. And from a small income, he would spend 50% in worshipping Mother Ganga. Look at his renunciation. 50% of a small income. So Nimai and Kolavaja Sridhar had a very special relationship. Nimai would derive great pleasure in going to Kolavaja Sridhar's shop every day. And we bargain. What is the price of bananas today? He would quote a price. No, you're making too much profit. I'm going to tell everyone how much profit you're making. And Keshav Kashmiri would say, come and see my house. You want to know how rich I am? And whatever the Sridhar had, he had spiritual wealth. And he had, as his residence, only one room with no ceiling. And there was one room with one pot in the whole house. It was a broken glass. It was deformed. And when Namadas Thakur said that pot was in such a bad condition that even a thief would not steal. So the mind would go every day to Kulavati Sridhar's shop. They would bargain. And then the mind would do his classes. Kulavati Sridhar enjoyed bargaining with his steady customer. And Kulavati Sridhar, day and night, he would chant the holy name. And with a small income, spend 50% in worshiping the candy. Kulavati Sridhar's neighbors would say, this man looks to be haunted by ghosts. He doesn't sleep himself because he's too poor to buy food, and he doesn't let us sleep. So, Kulavati Sridhar would be chanting the holy name almost non-stop all night. And the neighbors would not like it. But Kulavati Sridhar was determined. On one occasion, the Lord called his close associates and asked them, is there any benediction you want? Is there any favors that you want? And what did Kulavati say? My dear Lord, if you want to give me a benediction, please give me the benediction. That in every birth I may accompany you. And you may come to my shop and bargain for bananas. From this pastime of Kulavati Sridhar, we learn that how a devotee's real wealth is surrendered to the Lord. So there is one wonderful pastime of Chaitanya Mahāprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahāprabhu advocated chanting of the holy name, and he traveled all over India preaching the glories of the holy name. She converted the impersonation to the path of personalism, and Chaitanya Mahāprabhu was very much, he was against the Mayavadis. Mayavadis don't accept the personal form of the Lord, and they think the Lord is impersonal. Chaitanya Mahāprabhu had gone to, going to Vrindavan, and he was passing by the famous city of Varanasi. Varanasi was the Mayavadi capital at that time. All the impersonals were residing over there. Chaitanya Mahāprabhu and a devotee from Tapan, devotee called Tapan Misra. Tapan Misra was originally from Bangladesh. Today we see Bangladesh as a Muslim country. But at the time of Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, many of our acharyas appeared in Bangladesh. And many of our acharyas' pastimes were performed in Bangladesh. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Bangladesh, Tapan Misra approached him. Tapan Misra said, please tell me what should be the goal of life. And Lord Chaitanya said, now you go to Varanasi and explain to him what the goal of life should be. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was headed for Varanasi, was headed for Vrindavan. He passed by Varanasi. And in Varanasi, he stayed in the house of Chandrasekhar. Yeah. Chandrasekhar maturely belonged to the scheduled caste. It was not from Brahminic family or something. But he was a great devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he could not tolerate any criticism towards Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's the nature of a devotee. A devotee may be criticized, he doesn't mind it. A devotee may be ridiculed, he'll tolerate it. But he can't tolerate the Lord or a pure devotee from being criticized. So, devotees told Mahaprabhu that these Mayavadi sannyasis are just criticizing you all the time. That is unbearable for us. Mahaprabhu didn't take it very seriously. And he proceeded on his tour to Vrindavan. On his way back, he stopped again at the house of, and stayed at the house of Chandrasekhar. So Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar approached the Lord and said, we are very embarrassed and we cannot tolerate these Mayavadis always criticizing you. Kashinanda Saraswati was the leader of the Mayavadis, very prominent Sanskrit scholar, a staunch imperfect. They could not comprehend a Mahaprabhu who was a sannyasi and who had taken initiation along with them. So Chandrasekhar and Tapan Mishra heard all this criticism and they found it unbearable. They told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can't tolerate this criticism of yours. Please come and take prasad in the house of a Maharashtrian Brahmin. The Maharashtrian Brahmin was a great devotee of the Lord. And he had invited all the Mayavadi sannyasis. And at the request of Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar, the Lord agreed to go to his house. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to the house of the Maharashtrian Brahmin and the Prakashananda Saraswati and his sannyasi followers were sitting on a higher platform. And then came Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached and practiced another Vishnu Chaitanya words. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came, he sat down where we wash our feet. In all the temples, as you know, you first wash your feet before you go into the temple room. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat over there and he exhibited a very unique transcendental pastime. As we said earlier, the genuine incarnation of the Lord, the genuine avatar, performs superhuman activity. You ask the present day avatar, Can you perform any superhuman activity? And the answer would be, if not today, I'll do it tomorrow. Once I was participating in a conference, and there was a Shanj Mayavadi preacher. He said, why do people just say Krishna, Krishna, Krishna? We're all Krishnas. So I said, oh, really? So what about imitating or duplicating some of Krishna's pastimes? And he said, just because we can't lift more than hill today, doesn't mean we won't be able to lift it tomorrow. This is what Prabhupada used to call forgery checks. So a genuine incarnation, however, exhibits superhuman qualities, superhuman pastimes to get ease. So Prakashananda Saraswati and his sannyasi were sitting on a higher bench platform. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down where they washed their feet before entering the temple. And he exhibited a very unique pastime. The effulgence emanated from his head, equal to millions of moons and suns put together. That effulgence emanated from his head, face. And the Mayavadi sannyasis, when they saw that, they could understand. This sannyasi is not an ordinary sannyasi. This sannyasi must be very special, but he could see so much effulgence emanating from his face. So Prakashananda Saraswati came, took Mahaprabhu's hand, and made him sit on the higher platform. Prabhupada says, this is Agyata Sukriti. Prakashananda Saraswati took him on the higher platform, not knowing that he would be benefiting spiritually. So then there was a dialogue between Prakashananda Saraswati and his team was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They said, you are such a prominent Sanskrit scholar. Why do you have to chant like a madman? You should sit down with us and study the Vedanta. This is the business of a sannyasi. You study the Vedanta. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took a very humble position. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very humbly said, my spiritual master considered me to be a fool, a man of very small intelligence. And he told me, you are only capable of chanting the holy name of the Lord. You're not capable of anything else. And therefore, I'm chanting the holy name. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, quoting from the scriptures, reciting the verses that describe the importance of chanting the holy name of the Lord. And in the argument that took place, in the debate that took place, Prakashananda Saraswati and his followers admitted the supremacy of chanting the holy name. And by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what happened? All of them became Vaishnavas. And the whole town of Varanasi was full of humble Vaishnavas, was full of Vaishnavas, and was Mahahaina. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on the basis of scriptures, impressed upon Prakashananda Saraswati and his followers the importance of chanting the holy name of the Lord. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu propagated chanting the holy name, and he had predicted that the holy name will be chanted in every town and village of the world. We see Hainam parties all over the world. In Moscow, for example, there are 4 or 5 Hainam parties that go on every day. And people are able to chant the holy names, without any problem at all. Kali Kali Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar. In Kali Yuga, Lord incarnate in the holy name. So the holy name is the real wealth. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here to propagate the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was able to convince people all over the world of the glories of the chanting of the holy name. Once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a debate with a Buddhist scholar, and the Buddhist scholar was defeated in arguments with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The followers of the Buddhist scholar felt insulted. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeated our Guruji in a debate. So they made a plan to embarrass Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What did they do? They took fried, old, rotting foodstuff on a metal plate. And one of the Buddhist devotees was taking that plate towards Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, saying, "Here is a Mahaprasad for you, special Mahaprasad." And as the plate was being offered to the Lord, an eagle came from the top, took the rotten, stale prasad, and dropped the plate. Where? On the head of the Guru. And when the metal plate fell on the head of the Guru fainted. The Buddhists realized that they made a mistake. They were offensive to the Lord. So the Buddhists went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, "Please excuse us. This was our offensive mentality, because of which our Guru is now about to die." And they said, "We had placed rotten prasad on that plate. Please save our Guru. Please save our Guru." And what did Mahaprabhu say? "Go and chant the holy name in the ears of your Guru." And the followers did that. And as soon as they chanted the holy name on the ears of the Guru, what happened? The Guru came to consciousness. And they were all happy. And what happened? They all became Vaishnavas. They all became followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he appeared as a devotee. He is God. He took the role of an ordinary devotee. Whenever somebody would say, "Are you God?" he would block his ears and say, "No." And he was God appearing in the role of a devotee. And he practiced devotional service and preached the glories of devotional service to everyone. Once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling in southern India, and Mahaprabhu, by his preaching, had converted all South India to the path of personality. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in southern India, people would come to see him chant and dance. And just by seeing him chant and dance, they would also be inspired, and they would also chant and dance. So as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was passing through South India, he stayed in the house of a devotee called Kurma. Kurma was a Brahmin. He had a family. And Kurma was a devotee, but he was always, he knew the material life was not the ultimate solution. So, Lord Chaitanya, when the Lord came to Kurma's house, he washed his feet and prayed to him for advice. He said, "My dear Lord, I am miserable in the present condition. I want to request you, please take me traveling with you. I'm sick and tired of staying at home." So he said, "Please take me with you." Lord Chaitanya responded. He said, "My dear Kurma, you're a householder. You have a family. You have children. You can't leave home and just abandon your family." Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Chant Hare Krishna and preach the glories of Hare Krishna. Read the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita and preach the glories of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. In this way, you will always be with me and I will always be with you." So wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went, he gave the same advice to everyone. Chant the holy name and he can preach the glories of the holy name. So this chanting of the holy name is the prime benediction for humanity at large. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed as follows to write volumes of books on devotional service. But he personally only composed 8 verses that are identified as this is Shastra. And in these 8 verses, he has summarized the entire message of the Veda. In the first verse of the Shastra, it says, Chetana Brahmajanam Bhava Mahadbhagyan. And if you chant the holy name, very often people want to know, what is the benefit of this chanting of the holy name? What will I get if I chant the holy name? People want to know. So there are many benefits in chanting the holy name. And the Lord said, by chanting the holy name, the heart gets cleansed. Our heart is contaminated. Prabhupada used to say, our heart is more black than a coal. And this darkness is reflected by our attachment to Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsarya. These are the anarthas that keep us bound to the material world. And as long as these anarthas are prominent, we will not be able to develop the love of God. So chanting the holy name cleanses the heart. We see in our Krishna conscious movement devotees from all backgrounds taking to the process of devotional service. And without any discrimination. Lord Chaitanya distributed this process of love of God without discrimination. He did not consider who is fit and who is unfit. Just like when the rainwater pours. When the rainwater pours, it falls everywhere, isn't it? Falls on the fertile soil, falls on the ocean and the river, falls in mountain rocks. It does not discriminate. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya really distributed the chanting of the holy name. He did not consider who's fit and who's unfit. And Prabhupada took the same mood and presented chanting the holy name to everyone. When Prabhupada first went to America, before that, about the glories of the holy name. Prabhupada started this movement from Trump Square Park, where he used to he had taken a drum with him from India. And he would do the Hare Krishna mantra, and then gradually attracted more and more people. So we have practically seen in almost every civilization that the chanting the holy name works wonders. And Lord Chaitanya said, chanting the holy name, Ananda Bhuti Vardhana. We will also experience real happiness. Prahlad Maharaj says in the Bhagavatam, Devidam Swata Katem Vishnu. People do not know how real happiness can be found. So those of us who had the fortune coming in contact with Prabhupada and his books know that if you want real happiness, the only solution is take advantage of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings are very nicely presented by Prabhupada. And in the Bhaktivedanta purports, there's further elaboration on the text in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And by following this process, we can proceed, we can make spiritual advancement. Today, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is being read almost all over the world. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is continuing to preach through Prabhupada books and through the efforts of the devotees. The holy name is being chanted everywhere. And people are deriving great pleasure in chanting this process. So tomorrow we are going to celebrate the auspicious appearance day of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most merciful of all incarnations. And we should dedicate ourselves to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings very easy and sublime. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emphasized 5 major points for making spiritual advancement. He said sadhu sangha. The first activity that is important is sadhu sangha. If we associate with genuine sadhus, then you'll get a genuine message. And the genuine message is Namakirtan. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says sadhu sangha, and then Namakirtan. But that's not enough. The Lord gave us the various scriptures for our purification. So that's why we have Bhagavatam class in the morning, Gita class in the evening, Chaitanya Charitamrita classes. So study the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. Then you worship the Lord with faith and with full faith and reverence. The Lord manifests himself in his Acha Vigraha form. Just like in your temple in Ujjain, you have Krishna Balaram deities, Gauratai, Radha Krishna, the second day, so many wonderful deities. The Lord manifests himself in the Acha Vigraha form. And this Acha Vigraha form is not different from the Lord. We should not think, oh, this is only a statue. In India, there are a certain class of people, known as Mayavadis, Ayasamadis, who don't accept the personal form of the Lord. But Lord appears in his Acharya form. And then live in a dham, become a dhamasi. Or better, make your place into like a dham. Wherever the Lord is glorified, the place becomes a dham. Prabhupada said these temples, they're in New York, London, Paris, they're not in these cities, they're all Vaikuntha. So Prabhupada brought this philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu This philosophy is eternal in nature and is meant for entire humanity. So on this auspicious day, we should, as we prepare for Gopal Purnima, which is tomorrow, we should become more determined to follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings and to preach his teaching. Jai Dakotai Kao, Krishna Mukhe. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, oh, you see, peace, give him the message of Lord Krishna. So thank you very much. I want to thank again the devotees of the Ujjain temple. The temple invite me. And Lord Chaitanya's glories are really unlimited. We have just touched upon a tiny portion. We can go on discussing these pastimes, and they'll never get tired, and they'll always appear ever fresh. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Maharaj?
Maharaj. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj, we can hear.
Okay.
Yes, Maharaj.
Were you able to hear clearly?
Yes, Maharaj. Sound is very clear. Yeah. Yes.
So when I was speaking, was it clear enough?
Yes, Maharaj. Yes.
Okay, it said 9 to 10, so it's 10 o'clock now.
Very nectarian, Maharaj.
Pardon?
A very nectarian discussion.
No. Well, you said 1 hour. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for extending yourself.
So I go now?
You are stressing yourself for our benefit. Thank you so much.
No, I'm not doing it for your benefit, I'm doing it for my benefit. When I associate with nice devotees, when we think about the Ujjain temple built by Bhakti Goswami with so much effort, we also get purified. Wonderful. So I feel bad that I haven't come to Ujjain lately, but it's mainly with the COVID. I'm trying to be a little careful.
Yes, Maharaj. Here also, COVID is increasing. So, maximum we are doing online. Please bless us so that we can celebrate nicely under your guidance the Gopal Krishna festival. We just want to.
We have Bhakti Charu Maharaj's instructions. We should follow those instructions and with the help of the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis to progress further. So thank you very much, Maharaj. I'm in touch with you.
Thank you. His name is Gopal Krishna Goswami Guru Maharaj ki.
Bhakti Charu Swami ki. Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna.